What's up, guys? Welcome to trout fishing in Iowa. It's late September 2022 and I am up at my cabin in Dubuque County. Something a little different today. About a month ago I got a message from a number I did not recognize and it said, "Hey, I hear you like caves." Immediately this had my attention because I do like caves. He said, "This is so-and-so and I've got a cave on Frank's land that we can look at." Now Frank is my neighbor here, a farmer who has a couple hundred acres. So I checked with Frank and got permission to go over here and also got the coordinates of the cave. So while I do definitely intend to explore with my new friend who sent me the message, we've been talking. Found a little time here on a late September afternoon to get up here for a few hours, and I'm just going to check it out a little bit. Obviously you should never go in a cave very far by yourself, so my new friend who told me about this says that there were some Indian artifacts here, that the cave floor goes down quite a ways, that at one point he got stuck. So going to be very careful. Definitely going to come back here with a group of friends, but maybe we can look at the entrance of it and see what is here. So a little bit of exploring today. We'll see how this goes. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope we find some interesting things today. Okay, I've got the coordinates of the cave. So I'm going to enter into the woods here, try to follow a game trail. We have about 65 acres of land up here, and it's very hilly, bluffs, kind of similar to the driftless area, although we're a little south and west of the true driftless. But if you can believe it, even though we've been up here about 11 years, I've not explored all of it. So this should be interesting. These are pretty woods, and they're fairly open. So let's see if we can find this cave from the coordinates. The coordinates are leading me down this gully, and I see a big overhang down here. This is really interesting. You know, I've walked around these woods many times, never gone down here. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to get back down or how I'll get back up, but I can definitely see an area here that looks pretty promising for a rock shelter. Down here there is a creek, and that feeds into the North Fork of the Maquoketa River. So neat little valley, but I have not explored it much. Let's see if we can get down and find this cave. Kind of unexpected. I came around the corner and there's just kind of a sheer face here. Maybe I can get down here on these little steps. It looks like we kind of have two gullies coming down and then some pretty sheer facing and some ferns and stuff growing down here. It's going to take some fancy stepping, but maybe we can get down in here. Okay, well this is neat. So it's not the cave yet, but I came down this big slope back here and found this really big rock shelter. It goes way up here, way over. This is west facing, so not ideal for human habitation. Those would normally be south facing, but certainly a place where you could get out of the weather. And you can see that animals have made use of it. There's a nest in here, and there's kind of a spoil pile down here where something must have been digging a little place to live. And there are lots of chambers up here in the limestone, and pretty cool stuff in the limestone too. If we can zoom in here, you can see fossils of all different kinds. There's some there. Oh, wow, this is really cool. Kind of amazing to think that all this came about because it was underwater, and this was the bottom of the sea. And over millions of years, it formed this. And then it washed out in these gullies, and now we have these beautiful woods and these beautiful caves. So I'm going to continue pressing on. It looks like in order to get to this cave, I'm gonna have to go kind of around the bluff this way, which is tricky. It was tricky enough getting down here. Oh, and I should clarify, the reason I came out here today without my friend who tipped me off is not because I want to leave him out. I definitely want to go with him. But hunting season starts soon for deer. And this land is promised to people for hunting, and they asked that I not be out here during the season, and I definitely respect that. So it was just kind of my one chance to get out here and scope this out before the season, and then we'll be back for a further exploration in the winter after hunting is done. So follow me as I explore this rock shelter and then move on to try to find this big cave. This is just a bonus. This is so cool. Okay, so I was not able to get down the bluff to that cave where I was looking for, and I think it may be accessible going up from the creek, but I need some better directions and I need somebody with me, I think. I may take a look over there. I don't think it's something I'm going to be able to access today. I'm going to need somebody who's been there before and some folks to hike with me because it was just incredibly steep. But today is far from a loss because not only did I find that really cool rock shelter, I'm going to film something that I've wanted to show you guys for a while because I don't know how long it's going to be here. I'm standing in front of an old mill tunnel that was built in 1850. So our cabin is on the site of a ghost town, and this mill was built here way back when, and it's been kind of shored up here with concrete. This is an old mill flume, and the mill was in operation in the 1850s through the 1880s. There was a whole town here. There were blacksmiths and hotels and a school and several hundred people that lived here, even as far back as around the 1880 census. But all of these rivers up here flood a lot, and the North Fork of the Maquoketa especially, it's a very kind of narrow waterway, and when it floods, I would be several feet underwater right now. So the town flooded so many times that eventually people kind of got tired of that. In addition, the mill burned down under some very suspicious circumstances after some money went missing, according to my historical research, so that was a wash. And I had the opportunity recently to talk with a lady whose family had owned this for about 150 years before we did, and she said back in the 20s and 30s that the bridge down here washed out and was destroyed, and that people needed money so much that they cut up the bridge into pieces and took it with them. And it sounds like most of the buildings were limestone quarried from these hills. We have an old small quarry up there, and people took those away block by block. So we have one shed that maybe was part of the town, and that's really all that's left to the ghost town of Sheffield, Iowa, not to be confused with the current town of Sheffield, Iowa. That and this mill tunnel behind me. I haven't shown this to a lot of people, and I don't know how long it's going to be here. I think it's probably going to fall in eventually, so we will walk through here and document this today. And if you like spooky places, this one's pretty spooky. Alright, let's check it out. Okay, this is the old mill flume of Sheffield, Iowa, and you can see that it is made up of both ancient and modern materials. So you've got limestone blocks here making this big arch, really nicely cut, and then you have things like cinder blocks shoring it up. Now the cinder blocks, there's no way those were here when the mill was in use. That had to be just to preserve it. This is a site on the Iowa Archaeological Site Register, but there's not much information about it available, and when I contacted the State Archaeological Society, they didn't really have anything to say or any interest in coming out and looking at this. As you can see, it is falling in pretty rapidly. The ceiling is doing the best. It's really neat to see these blocks laid in in this archway like this, and there must just be a ton of layers, because even this layer here, that's, you know, totally fallen in. Behind it, you see other good layers, and it's kind of cemented in, mortared in. Not easy walking through here. Here's another part where part of a wall is fallen in, part of the modern wall. I'll kind of walk here, and then you see another modern wall part that's fallen in. When the water comes up and floods, it still rushes through here, so you'll get all kind of interesting debris. But as we get to the downstream part, you see it's really quite intact. Floor is in good shape. Again, these limestones just cut really nicely. Straight lines. And a nice level floor. And this is just really nicely done. Slopes down. As I get down there you can kind of see where we came from, where there's quite a bit of damage. And it goes down here, and there are some blocks on the floor here, but those wash down from up there. I don't really see any damage to these walls at all until you get to this part where you can see it's kind of bulging in on this side. So up above is a turnaround area that is kind of has been used by people in the past to come down and fish, but mostly kind of drink and party. Had a lot of trespassers. Thankfully that's gotten a little bit better as we put up cameras and things like that. But there's a lot of traffic over this, and I think probably 99.9% of the people that would drive through here have no idea they were driving over this cool old tunnel. Now through here, you can see the floor is totally washed out. Gets up here and it's just kind of rubble, and then it goes over here and exits into the North Fork of the Maquoketa. And there's some more of these concrete retaining walls with these kind of old metal braces. So if I were to kind of walk up and around here, there are some limestone foundations of the mill or some other buildings, but really not much, just enough to know that there was once something there. So this is a pretty cool piece of Iowa history. There are lots of mills throughout Iowa, but I don't think I've ever seen a tunnel quite this long that's still intact. Just eyeballing it, I would say this is 50 or 60 yards from end to end. It's good size, so pretty cool. As always, anytime you see something like this, be careful. There's no self-service in here, and yeah, if you trip and fall, you're probably gonna die there. So so be careful. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this little tour. I will go down and see if I can find a way to that other cave, but that may be more of a winter trip. Thanks for tagging along. No trout fishing today. Streams are still pretty low, although I hope to get out soon. But we did a bit of exploring. Rock shelter.